Hey, the subject I want to speak about today, tonight really, I should say, it's the early hours of the morning now. But this is something that's been on my mind for a while, and it's about the nature of, let's say, human relationships. I'm not talking about intimate romantic relationships, but rather interaction with people, um, regarding friendship. Now, just as a disclaimer, because I don't want to be misunderstood with this, I'm not the sort of person to come online and bitch about my friends. That's not what I'm going to do. Um, Certainly not going to, name any of my friends or anything like that. I'm fortunate to have some very good friends, people I value in my life, people I respect, and so on. But I've also been let down over the years. I'm making this video as a general talking point. I'm using my own situation as an example, but I'm only using it as an example, not to try and um, you know, have a focus for me specifically, myself specifically. I'm using it as an example to provide context to the situation that I'm talking about. So I feel that in life we meet thousands of people. The average person, especially in this interconnected world, given that probably a good number of people, I'm not going to say most people, but a good number of people, especially in developed countries, have the ability to travel and meet lots of people. So it's fair to say the average person in a lifetime meets thousands and thousands of people. The vast majority of those people will be acquaintances. By meeting people, I'm not talking about, you're in a busy crowd and you walk past people. I'm talking about actually communicating with people in some sort of social context. Um, and for one reason or another, you may find yourself talking to someone a bit more. Um, Obviously, there could be times when this is romantic because you're attracted to the person. And then you approach them and you're rejected, or you're accepted and you develop a relationship and it works out or it doesn't work out. But I'm talking here about acquaintances that then become friends, and then for whatever reason it doesn't work out and you feel that it develops into a situation where you feel let down. Now, this has happened to me this year, and I'm not going to name the person, obviously, that would be crass. But let's just say this person was somebody I felt like I was getting close to. I felt that she was a friend. She even used the word best friend to describe our relationship. Um, this wasn't a romantic relationship. It was, I mean, I'll be honest, I was attracted to her and I did approach her, and she rejected me. That's fine. But basically, after she rejected me, she insisted that she wanted to remain friends. So, in guy talk, I guess you could say it's friend zone, right? And that's fine. I can deal with that. I've got lots of friends. A large number of them are women, and that's fine. So I was perfectly happy to deal with the friendship situation. But over the last few months, she's got gradually more and more distant. Now, this is something that sometimes happens in life. You get close to people, and then for whatever reason, they drift away. And I can usually handle that. But what's difficult about this situation is this person is still in my life in the sense I still see her pretty much every week. We both mutually go to a social club. Um, but whereas she was someone that I socialized with closely at the end of last year, the beginning of this year, in in this situation, she's been just more distant, and I cannot work out why. I have approached her about this, and I have asked, well, what's going on here? What's the issue? Have I done something wrong? Have I said something to upset you? Why do you say that we're friends and then you're acting like an acquaintance? Now, what she says is that she's busy. And I have to say, this is a line that I've heard before, and it's something I'm quite skeptical about. I'm skeptical about it because whilst I know that in 2015, in the modern world, people do have busy lifestyles. I know that is a reality. But I also think sometimes it is used as an excuse when people simply don't want to communicate with you anymore, or they want to keep communication to minimal. So what I want to talk about here is basically being in that situation, both as a person who feels let down and as a person who finds himself no longer wishing to communicate with someone. Now, I don't know what it is that makes her feel that she no longer wants to be a good friend of mine, although she hasn't said this. I don't know if she's trying to see a face or I don't know what it is, but she's not being honest with me. She's basically saying she's busy and oh, we're still good friends, etc. Well, if we're still good friends, then why go from, someone that I would speak to quite often and feel quite close to? I mean, I'm not going to say she's my best friend ever, and I'm not going to say this is someone who I've been friends with for years, but it was someone who I did get close to, and I felt that we had a connection. Um, and people will come on this video maybe and suggest that I'm bitter because she rejected me. Really, really isn't the issue. I've been rejected by people before, and I've managed to be good friends with them, and it's something that I've handled fine. What I cannot tolerate is being misled in terms of the nature of our friendship, and I feel that has happened. Um, Basically, if you don't want to be close friends with someone, then don't tell them you're my best friend. That's what she done to me, and I do feel somewhat let down by her. I also feel a bit gullible that I've been taken in by this, but I kind of feel that most normal people would be. If someone is in your life and they're being friendly to you, and this isn't just a male female thing, I would be saying the same thing if there was a guy that I got on well with and suddenly he started acting a bit cold or whatever. Like we were buddies and we hung out for drinks and stuff, then suddenly he was like just acting differently. I would have the same questions. If there's something that I have done or something in my personality that she's seen and she doesn't like, then it's a difficult situation. I understand that people, I'm not foolish. I know people cannot go up to the other person and say, oh, by the way, I don't like this about your personality, so we're no longer going to hang out. I know that's not an easy thing to do, and I wouldn't expect people to do that, and I probably wouldn't do it myself. But for me, the issue is about misleading people with dialogue and rhetoric that carries weight. Um, and I think that I feel I'm quite a good judge of character. I feel that I'm quite good at reading how people are responding to a given situation. So the message I'm getting is that despite her rhetoric about being a good friend, um, the message that she's sending out with her behavior is basically, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. Now, it's not a case that I pester her all the time but it's more a case of just wanting clarification of where I lie because I cannot tolerate being lied to. So I need clarification of what my position is. And I am pretty much on the verge of just giving up. But the thing is, because I value friendship, it's something that I don't want to just, other friends have said forget her, and I know where they're coming from because they don't want to see me hurt. But when when you've got close to someone and they then start acting this way, I think it's completely human nature to want to know why. I think that's a rational response. So I've sent her a message earlier on Facebook. If she doesn't reply this time, I'm just going to leave it at that because I don't want to bother her. If it is a case that she is tired of me, then obviously I don't want to bother her. I've no intention of doing that. But she's never suggested that. She's never said like, "Oh, please stop disturbing me" or something like this. And if she ever did, I would be confused, but I would accept it. Sometimes you need to just vocalize things directly. Now, the thing is, I have actually been in a similar situation from the other point of view. I have found that there's been people who have got close to me, or they have been quite familiar with me in the sense that they'll talk to me quite a lot, and I sort of find them a little bit annoying. Something about their personality that I find annoying. I mean, I've known one guy quite recently who he obviously sees me as someone that he can talk to, and I try to be civil, I try to be reasonable, but I find him a bit annoying. He has a habit of interrupting me when I'm talking to someone else. Just comes over and then just starts talking about himself, which I find a bit rude. And I think next time I'm going to tell him something. Um, so I've also been on the other end where I've been in a situation where people have kind of got themselves closer to me. Thing is, I try to not feel guilty about this because I don't think that I've done anything wrong. I don't think I've misled people. I don't think I've sort of sent out the message that, oh, I feel you're a great friend. Sometimes we need to just read body language. So if you approach someone and that person shows no interest in you as a friend and you continue to persist, then that's your fault. But if the person sends out the message that you are friends and then suddenly they get cold, that's their fault. That's the way I read into this. It's not an easy situation. Everybody is different. Everybody has a different way of interpreting a situation. I'm someone who does value friendships, so if I feel I've lost a friendship, for whatever reason I do find it quite difficult. I'll be honest with that. I do find it quite hard to handle. Um, I won't obsess about it to the point where I won't, obviously I'm not going to harass the person. If they don't want to be friends, they don't want to be friends, and I'll accept that. But usually I would still like some sort of indication of why. If it's something I've said, if it's a personality flaw that I have, no one's perfect. I'm sure I have my annoying traits. Could be anything, but it's something that I do find rather difficult to handle. Now, this girl that I mentioned, it would be easy for people to sort of dismiss that and say, oh, well, obviously she feels awkward because you like her and she doesn't feel the same way. But what I don't understand about this, now that would make sense, right? Because okay, she's not attracted to me and maybe she feels awkward. Why then is it after I approach her that you know, we socialize a lot and we apparently were good friends. It was after I approached her that you know, um, she gave the impression that she was a good friend. She gave me a really thoughtful Christmas card. We spent time together. She came to my boxing match, supported me. Now that is not something an acquaintance does. At least not, if you're going to do that, then it's something you're sending out the message that you want to be a good friend. She was a good friend then. Therefore, it's hurtful for this transition for her to just be so cold now. And the hardest thing about it is when, on the very rare occasion that I do speak to her face to face, it's like nothing's happened. It's like, oh, how are you? And it's just small talk. But to me, it's definitely changed. The situation has definitely changed. And, I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to pursue something that is, at this point, becoming obvious. But it hurts. I'm not going to be bravado about it. It hurts. And I'm going to make an open question here to anybody watching this video. Uh, have you been in this situation? Obviously, the fact that I approached her was a factor. Um, but, I'd honestly have the same sentiments on some level if it was a guy. If it was someone that I felt that I had something in touch with and he was like a beer buddy. And then, he got more distant and I'd get a little bit paranoid and think, well, is it something that I've said? Is it something that I've done wrong? Um, I mean, I think I'm a decent guy. I think I try to be a decent person. I think I try to treat people with respect. So, what? Then it leaves me with questions like, why? Um, I mean, if it's a case that she is concerned that I like her, well, she should know by now that I've accepted that. I accept the fact that she rejected me in that sense. But like I say, you know, all of this sort of close friendship came after the rejection, not before. I could understand, some girls feel awkward about that. Maybe some guys as well. I mean, if a girl really, really, really liked me and she approached me and I had to reject her because I didn't feel the same way, maybe it would be a bit awkward afterwards. But if you then open up the situation of, oh, but we'll still be friends, you can't mess with people's emotions like that. You cannot, if speaking for myself, if a girl approached me and I wasn't attracted to her, I would be honest with her in a sensitive way. I'd say, look, I'm sorry, I just don't feel the same way. I wish you all the best. I'd try to be as sensitive as possible about it. But I'm not going to mislead her and say, oh, but let's be great friends, because it would be a lie. If there was something about her personality I didn't really like, then to say that would just be misleading. So anyway, I'm referencing my own situation, but I'm doing it because I think that maybe other people have been in a similar position. Now, what I do on the other hand, if I find that someone is getting close to me, and I just find that I don't have a great deal in common with them, and maybe I find them a little bit annoying or something, I try to get the balance right. I'm civil to them. I'll talk to them if they're talking to me, but I try to give the impression, or I try to really, really say, look, I don't consider you a great friend. We can talk occasionally. You're a decent person, but I really don't think we've got much in common. The fact of the matter is, people are different, and it is very, very, very difficult to find someone that you can 100% really invest in terms of friendship, in terms of trust. Very difficult, and that's a pity, but that's human nature for you. And no doubt I've let people down over the years. I've no doubt people have they've seen something in me, and unintentionally I have disappointed them. Um, I certainly never try to do it. I mean, if people, I never give someone a false impression. I try to be civil to people. I try to be polite to people, but I don't get close to people that I don't want to be close to, and I certainly don't give them the impression that I want to. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this one. What do you think is the best approach to take? Some people would say blunt honesty, blunt, direct, like, oh, fuck off, I don't want anything to do with you is the right approach. I don't agree with that because I don't think you need to be cruel about it. However, I think it can be equally cruel to give someone a false impression, to give them the idea that you're really close and you feel like, they're a friend when you don't feel like that at all. So I think the best approach is to just try and be civil. Um, Try to say, look, talk to them if they talk to you. But it's really, really difficult to get a balance. And if you have been in a situation where you've been close to someone and they just drift away, I mean, sometimes it's easier when they go to another country. That's that's easier in a way because you have a distance and it's a rational explanation. There's a plane journey between us. But it's much harder in my experience when they're living in the same city and when you see them occasionally, but it's kind of a collective social situation. It's just like a mutual place where you both go to, rather than you hang out from something that you've invited them to a social event and they've just made excuses. That's different from a social situation where you both happen to go to just because you both happen to go, other than going together. If you get my drift. So let me know your thoughts if you've ever been in this situation. I think it's good actually to ask my subscribers because you guys are people who subscribe to my channel have a good impression now of where I stand on a lot of issues. Um, I try to avoid using the word friend for people online because I think it's a very different dynamic speaking to people online. I find a lot of common ground with people, and I've come a lot across a lot of decent people among my subscribers, among others. But I'm not going to say friends. But I think actually this is the sort of question that is best posed to an acquaintance. Um, so yeah, I'm asking anybody, this is an open video, what do you think is the best way to deal with this situation? A, from the point of view of someone who feels let down, do you pursue the person and try and find out why, or do you let it go? Obviously, you let it go at some point, but is it fair to try and find out why first? And secondly, if you're the person who is trying to detach yourself from someone who kind of doesn't quite get the hint, then how do you approach that? That thoughts.